Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Mindful Minutes, Season 1, Episode 3. This is your host, Tanay Sarpotdar. Mindful Minutes was conceived to brainstorm marketing ideas and strategies specifically for small and medium businesses. I'm grateful to our sponsor, Marinoid, the marketing agency and strategic consulting firm that's designed to empower small and medium businesses. They're making this podcast series possible by enabling us to share innovative insights from and for the small and medium business world. Do check out their website for more details. But in the meantime, I'm also deeply humbled with the support and love that you all have shared for this podcast. Please continue to do so and share your views on this content as well. We've been discussing critical marketing elements or critical elements in B2B, neuro-linguistic programming to cultivate a B2B success mindset, and the insights have been terrific. It has been an eye-opener, and I've received a lot of feedback from my friends, family, colleagues, that it has given them a new direction to think. In this episode as well, we're going to discuss a different dimension. The psychology of persuasion. In B2B marketing and sales, can persuasion techniques be used to better our conversion rates or improve our customer satisfaction? That's the thing that we're going to talk on. Persuasion as a term, it has been used extensively, but from my experience, it's more of a control mechanism, both internally and externally. Everything in demand generation or even marketing overall aims at persuading the market, the customer, or anyone to take some action. Is there a way we can enhance it? Well, yes, of course. And one of the answers is emotional intelligence. I've done my assessment and also got certified in emotional intelligence a while back. And it made me realize, what if I knew this earlier? Let's get started then. Since it's a podcast on art, psychology combined, of course, from a B2B marketing perspective, who better to brainstorm into it than my dear friend Amarendra? So here we are for the third episode on Mindful Minutes, welcoming Amarendra Chitrale, NLP master trainer, coaching psychotherapist, founder and CEO of Agile Neuro, president AANLP, an amazing athlete, cricketer, tennis player, and I can go on and on. In the last episode, we brainstormed how neuro-linguistic programming, an art or a science, can help you develop a success mindset, be it B2B product or B2B service. But what if we can read what a customer or market is focusing on as we are just trying to figure out the programming of our brains? How will we make it much more easier or be more in control? So let's invite Amarendra again to help us unravel these things. Welcome, Amarendra.
Thank you so much, Tanay, for inviting me again. It's always a pleasure to be with you on this podcast, and it gives an opportunity to share my knowledge. Also, like you said earlier, there are a lot of feedbacks coming in from various podcasts. So, in a way, it's not only about telling people, giving people, or empowering people. It's also about learning. So, really, I have also learned a lot of things since the last podcast. So, thank you very much for inviting me again.
Awesome. And of course, we're going to be as casual, and I know you're going to be as straight as an arrow. So let's dive deep. The topic for today's brainstorming session is the art of persuasion, emotional intelligence in B2B marketing and sales. So emotional intelligence at the core. The psychology of persuasion in B2B marketing and sales is a multifaceted area. It involves understanding human behavior, decision-making processes, and utilizing various strategies to influence our potential customers or clients. And as far as my understanding goes, AI also involves the ability to identify and understand not only one's own emotions but also the emotions of others. So it also entails, I believe, effectively managing and using emotions to guide actions and relationships in a business environment. More on developing behavioral flexibility, self-motivation, stress management, and overall emotional regulation. But that's just my understanding of it. Amarendra, can you just shed more light into what is emotional intelligence, and is the art of persuasion also part of emotional intelligence?
Well, emotional intelligence is it has a lot of dimensions to it. First of all, when we talk of emotional intelligence, our ability to deal effectively with our emotions in our personal life and workplace is critical to our success. And I think a lot of people have spoken about this. Uh, Stephen Covey, the author of Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, has said this, that more than intelligence quotient, emotional quotient is very important these days, because your intelligence quotient, that is IQ, is you cannot increase your IQ. Okay, so it's like the processor in the laptop. So if you want to increase the processor speed, then you have to replace the processor. But anybody who comes right from the day the child is born, and when the brain gets fully developed, the IQ is kind of set. But when it comes to emotional quotient, that's one type of intelligence which can be increased. Okay. So when I say that it is our ability to deal effectively with our emotions in our personal life and workplace, and it is critical for our success, because along with intelligence quotient, emotional quotient helps us achieve that effectiveness. So, like you said earlier, we are playing multiple roles in our life, and each role has its own challenge. Now, today we are specifically talking about B2B marketing, okay, or business in general. I've realized this after being in business for a very long time, that emotional intelligence plays a very big role, because it is all about your state. It is all about your emotional state. It is about understanding other people. First of all, it starts off with understanding yourself. So if you understand your own SWOT analysis, your own values, your own belief system, what are your strengths, your weaknesses, etc., then you have better self-awareness. Apart from that, now the logic says that if you're self-aware, then you can manage yourself very well, which is the second competency in emotional intelligence, that is managing yourself. Now, when we talk about managing yourself, it is about managing your emotions, channelizing emotions, regulating emotions, which is very important in business scenario, because I've seen a lot of times people throwing away their business just because they were not able to manage their state of mind in critical moments. Sometimes, if you were to talk about personal brands, now you have these organizations, and they spend millions of dollars or probably billions of dollars in building their brands. But what about the personal brand? At the end of the day, if you really want others to invest in you and your business, then people have to first perceive that this is indeed a very good brand to invest in. Remember, people buy trust first, and then they buy your product. That is how it is. And emotional intelligence, kind of, like I said, first of all, it talks about how you manage yourself, manage your emotions, create your personal brand, create your trust. Right? It is after this that the art of persuasion comes. Because if people trust you, then 50% of the battle is won. Then it's just a simple concept of putting your communication in the right way, so that people are able to see what they can achieve for themselves by investing in you. Well, we spoke about self-awareness and self-management. Well, there are two other competencies which are immensely important when it comes to business or B2B marketing, and that is others awareness. How well are you able to read other people? Because if you're able to read other people, then you can maneuver, you can be flexible in your communication. You see, rigidity does not get you very far enough. If you're a rigid person, you will have one way of communicating, for example. So if there are 10 people in front of you and you have just one way of communicating, then 3 people understand you, 3 people somewhat understand you, and 4 people may not understand you. And you'll realize that when it comes to persuading people, if you don't understand them, then there will not be any behavioral flexibility in communication, and hence that entire endeavor of persuading them fails. So if you're able to read other people, then the last competency is managing them, because logic says that if you're able to read other people, then you are able to manage them, you are able to persuade them, you are able to influence them in any way. Of course, in all of this, what is important is the ecology, and the responsibility part is also important, which emotional intelligence talks of a lot. So, all in all, emotional intelligence is about these 4 competencies: self-awareness, self-management, others awareness, and others management. Now, as a part of others management, there is something else which is called empathy, putting myself in my prospective client's shoes, and then thinking, what could this prospective client be valuing? What is the value that this person wants? And if I can look at the world from that person's perspective, then I am in a better position to pitch in my product. And we need to do all this while managing emotions, while regulating emotions. So this is where, you take emotional intelligence out of the equation, and you'll realize that businesses are destroyed. Like, I can give you a piece of statistics. 70% of the organizations closed down in the first 5 years. And one of the reasons that they closed down is that the promoters of that business are not flexible. They are not able to, the emotions get better of them. They are not able to use the right language at the right time, which again, all of this is a part of emotional intelligence, right? And of course, there is no innovation or creativity, which basically talks, when are we innovative and when are we creative? When we understand the world better, when we understand other people better. And this is the requirement, and we need to change our products. We need to, modify them in a certain way so that kind of value can be provided to the new world. You see, the world has changed in the last 10-15 years, and it has changed drastically. And now you see that there is so much of importance of emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. Talking of which, it's very important, for all at least the businessmen, or those who are in the marketing professionals, just to understand their emotional quotient. And in order to understand that, there are various assessments which are there. And these assessments are there on academy.agileneuro.com, or on our websites, and they're actually free. Okay, so why you should get assessed? Not because not because you need to necessarily achieve something extraordinary, which you will eventually. But you see, the thing is, if you don't understand yourself, where you lie and what kind of improvement you should get in yourself, then you don't have a starting point. That's the problem. So this is basically what is emotional intelligence, and its importance in business.
Perfect. I mean, you said it. The 4 points that you mentioned, they are absolutely right. And of course, definitely people should strive to achieve a higher emotional quotient. And I'm sure once people do those assessments, they'll realize much more, how it is going to benefit them. But overall, what I've observed is, and that's the main reason why we are actually brainstorming these sessions, is because people rely too much on circumstances. And they are probably right in some way, but they don't realize that they have to be the one who drive it. They cannot always, expect that the situation is going to be right. They have to try and read it from different perspective. Like you said, step into the other person's shoes and then try to imagine, or then try to make a decision. And you mentioned that there are companies, more than 70% of them, of course that's a well-known statistic from a startup perspective, that more than 70% of them fail in the first 3 years. And I've seen one statistic even more growing, that people do assess sometimes, but they don't take decisions. And the reason why they don't take decisions is because they have not been emotionally stable. They've not understood how emotions play. They don't take those decisions because they're not confident. And I would highly suggest that if you assess what's your current state, if you assess how better you could have read this situation, maybe though that 70% can go down. So thank you once again for sharing that. You also mentioned that there are assessments. So can you shed more light into how an EQ is assessed, or how is a value assessment performed?
Well, here's another piece of statistics. 90% of the top performers, okay, in any organization are high in emotional quotient. This is the piece of statistics, which has been well researched by various universities all over the world. So take any big company, okay, or any company that is, even a small company for that matter, but which is doing well for a long time, and their promoters are the same for many years. Okay. So if you were to do their EQ assessment, you will always find that their emotional quotient is quite high. And that's why I say that 90% of the top performers are high in emotional quotient. Well, that does not mean that if somebody's emotional quotient is low, that means that person absolutely has no chance in building his or her business, or can.
No, I get it totally. I mean, that's definitely not going to be the case. So, anything more that you want to add?
So I was just saying that so the starting point is assessments. Okay, so the assessments, when you go through these assessments, they are basically going to give you individual scores on your self-awareness, like I said earlier. Okay, then how well you are able to manage yourself, that is self-management. It will give you in terms of percentage. The third one is others awareness, how well you are able to read other people. And fourth is how well you are able to manage other people. Along with that, it also talks about your motivation, it talks about your values. Now, you see, the thing is, there could be certain values which might be conflicting with your endeavors. Like, for example, somebody wants to start a business, but the core value that person has is security. Now, you realize one thing, that when you want to start a business, and even B2B marketing for that matter, it's quite a towards profession, isn't it? You need to be a go-getter over there. Sometimes you need to take a lot of risks. Sometimes certain things may not be planned. So when it comes, if somebody's core value is high security, whereas maybe the profession demands that you should be a little bit of a risk taker, maybe a calculative risk taker, then this value is a conflicting value. This is where sometimes the entrepreneur or the marketing professional sometimes has these issues of not being able to do justice to the job, or there is job dissatisfaction, or like you said earlier, they don't take decisions. Sometimes people, again, like you said earlier, the people kind of depend on circumstances. From the if you were to correlate this with the HR field, it's something like the lag indicator. Something happens and then the firefighting starts. Well, emotional intelligence ensures that you are going to take proactive decisions. Okay, and this is what the assessment is going to tell you. If there is any kind of value disconnect, whether you really need to be more proactive, whether you need to do more work when it comes to others management, or maybe self management, whatever it is. So it is going to give you a complete rainbow analysis of what really needs to be done. Because, like I said earlier, that emotional quotient can be increased. The way we were in school, we were not the same in college. The way we were in college, we are not the same now. That maturity level has increased, hence the emotional quotient has increased. We have learned things the hard way, but that does not mean that the next generation or the next generation of entrepreneurs or marketing professionals also should learn it the hard way. If we have the technology, if we have the science, if we have this, the art part of it, then it should be utilized. Yeah. So that's what these assessments are.
Absolutely. Why reinvent the wheel when it's already been there? You can might as well take it to the next level. So we're on the topic on discussing on building relationships and trust. So can you give us a couple more examples on how better we can understand building relationships and trust with EI? Any actual example which you can share?
Yeah, sure. So, trust and emotional intelligence, they are so close to each other. In fact, I would probably say that trust is one thing that it lies under the umbrella of emotional intelligence. Now, if I'm going to give you a simple formula, if people use this formula in their life, then they will never fall short of being trusted. Everybody, I mean, a leader needs to be trusted by the employees. A businessman needs to be trusted by his or her clients, stuff like that. So the simple formula is that it's a 3-step process. One is, and it's a Greek concept which is 2,500 years old. And that Greek concept is ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, ethos is your credibility as a businessman. Ethos is your credibility as a marketer, as a marketing professional. In fact, ethos is your credibility as a husband or a wife as well. Okay. So, I mean, anything that you do, okay, you have to be credible. Okay. So if you have a prospective client or even your existing clients for that matter, in their eyes, are you a credible service provider or are you a credible businessman? In your eyes of your kids, are you a credible parent? In the eyes of your spouse, are you a credible spouse? It's like that. So, credibility can be, divided into 4 parts. One is your capability of doing whatever you're doing. Second is the results that you've shown in the past. Third is your integrity, which is, walk the talk. And fourth is your intent. What is your intention? And that should be pure. Now you realize that if any of this goes bad, okay, then credibility goes bad. Like, for example, if you don't have the capability of providing the service that you are supposed to provide, credibility goes. If you've not shown the results in the past, and that's why on a lot of websites you see, when all these e-commerce websites or any website you see, it talks about the capability and the results that have been shown in the past. That's why that information should be there on the website. The third is the integrity. I mean, you say one thing but do another. It's like the boss saying that all of you should come to office at 9 o'clock, and the boss himself or herself is coming at 10:30. That is the problem with integrity, isn't it? The boss is saying that you should be loyal to this organization, and his own resume is on some job portal. That's where integrity goes for a toss. So again, as a service provider, as a marketing professional, whatever you are saying, are you living up to it? So this is a very important point and a very underrated point. That if you're telling something that okay, yes, we will deliver this to you, you should deliver it. That's the integrity part of it, and of course the intent. What is your intention? Is your amateur salesperson is going to just push the product, but a professional salesperson is going to push the solution. And that's where the client has to understand that this person who's talking to me, this businessman, this marketing professional, is totally committed to my well-being. That is his intention. Okay, the moment that does not happen, again the credibility goes bad. So this is ethos is credibility, which I've just, in a short way, I've just explained it. Second is pathos, which is the rapport that you share with anybody, be it your existing client or prospective client. And see, there's a very nice technique of how you can build rapport, but I'll just tell this to you in short, that rapport, we get along with all those people who are very similar to us. Okay. Like if you remember your college days, you'll find that you'll remember that there were groups of friends. Now each group, even you had your group of friends, and there was some similarity between all of you. Maybe the way you dressed, maybe the way you talked, maybe geography, from where you belonged. We had all university toppers in one group, all these backbenchers in one group. We had smokers group. Okay, we had and there was a group with all beautiful women, all in the same group. Okay, so similarities is what binds people together. So somewhere, if the prospective client realizes that you are quite similar to him or her, then they perceive that yes, then this person will understand my problem, and I can cry on his shoulder. That's rapport. And the third one is logos, which is logic. Now, when you are giving them the solution, you should always back it up with logic. Why certain product or service is the client should buy that one, and why not the other one? There should be some good solid logic behind it. Okay, now you realize that if you take anything out of this, ethos, pathos, and logos, then trust is lost. Let's take the popular example in the world currently, and that is marriage. Okay, I am assuming that most of the husbands and wives trust each other. That's the wishful thinking that I have. But you see, let's say that someday the husband loses the credibility in the eyes of the wife in some way. I'll not give the specifics. Okay, that's where the trust goes. Sometimes couples say that now the love is lost, which means there is no rapport, which means pathos has gone bad. Again, the relationship starts rocking, and sometimes couples may be talking illogical things for each other. Again, so you are not going to trust a person who talks illogical things, isn't it? So this is how, now all this, again, how trust is related to business is what I just described. But at the same time, if you really want somebody to trust you, again we come back to those 4 quadrants: the self-awareness, self-management, especially others awareness and others management. Because if you can understand the other person, then you can make them trust you by using the language in the right way, behaving in the right way, etc., etc. That's how these 2 things are related.
Wonderful. I mean, no better way to put it than to map it with the concept and also putting it into the quadrant. I've always felt it's very much easier if you write it. If you put it down in writing, then only you can improve, rather than just thinking about these are my strengths, these could be an opportunity and stuff like that. So you said it right. Ethos, benefits over features. Pathos, belong to the group. Logos, answer why, and be logical. Be empathetic, understanding, and then tailor your approach and communication to resonate with the client emotionally. So trust being a fundamental factor in B2B space, emotional intelligent professionals can build trust through genuine interactions. So, great. So moving on, last but not the least, I mean, we can discuss on and on about a lot of things, but how do you think we can manage negotiations and resolve conflicts with AI by tailoring value propositions?
Well, the first thing in negotiations, everybody needs to understand this. Any kind of negotiation happens because of agreements and not because of disagreements. a lot of people have a very wrong approach in negotiations, where they are just focusing more on what is not common, okay, or what is uncommon. They focus on the differences, whereas in emotional intelligence, generally what we teach people is approach the negotiation with agreements, getting agreements from the other person. Like I'll give you an example. Let's say you go to a flea market. You know what a flea market is. A flea market is a place where you get a lot of stuff, probably branded as well, a lot of good stuff, but at cheaper prices. But
Abibas, Rika, and stuff like that.
yeah. So you go there, but even if you get it cheap, just that you need to negotiate or you need to bargain over there. So let's say you want to buy a leather belt, okay, from that place. So let's say that person says that, okay, I'll give you this leather belt for 200 rupees or 500 rupees or whatever it is. Now you know that you have to bargain over there, because quite easily you can get it cheaper. So when I say that focus on the agreements, first of all, ask this, but chunk it up to the level of intention that are you sure you want to sell this belt? I mean, it's a funny question. And the shopkeeper might just say to you, yes, of course I want to sell this belt. That's why I've opened this stall over here. But then, yeah, you want to sell, I want to buy. Okay, so this is an agreement. It's a highest intention level agreement. That you want this, okay, or do you want to sell this? I want to buy. Okay, cool. Now the next thing is that you get agreements from the person that this belt is not a pure leather belt, for example. Okay, it's not a pure leather belt. So the person has to agree if it is not a pure leather belt. It's just a metaphoric representation I'm giving you, which you can use, in B2B marketing as well. So the shopkeeper says, yes, I mean, it's not a pure leather belt. You got one agreement. Then you say that the belt is not branded. The shopkeeper says, well, it is branded. And then you say that you see Adidas is a brand. Abibas is not a brand. So that person has to agree that yes, it is not Adidas, but it is Abibas. Okay. So you've got the third level of agreement from that person. And then you say, you see this mall over here. If I go to this mall and ask for a branded pure leather belt, quite easily I can get that branded pure leather belt, maybe let's say for 570 rupees or 580 rupees. And what you are telling me is 500 rupees. Okay. So, and if you don't believe me, you can come with me to the mall. I'll show it to you. Obviously, this person is not going to come to the mall. That's when this person is going to has to agree with you that, okay, probably what you're saying is true. So you got the fourth level of agreement. Now, after getting all these agreements, then you say to this person, and it's kind of a leading question, that if all these things are true, don't you think you should give me this belt for 200 rupees or 250 rupees? Generally, that's the that's the 50% price that we start with, generally at flea markets. So now comes the objection, okay, from the other person. And maybe what this person says that, okay, you seem to be like a reasonable person. You see, the thing is that if you don't have this approach, the approach of, if you directly tell this person, no, I'm going to pay only 250 rupees or 200 rupees, then it's going to go into that binary argument, okay, where nobody is getting nowhere. It's basically disagreement, and hence negotiations don't happen. But now, because you have got agreements from that person, now you are in a better position to negotiate, saying that, these four things exist or don't exist. So don't you think that we should agree on such a price? Somewhere when you, okay, if there is a disagreement even after doing this, then chunk it up to the level of agreements. And listen, what you are saying is that you are ready to offer this to me for 350 rupees. But brother, what you really need to understand is that, again, it's not a pure leather belt, it's not branded. So maybe that person comes down to 300, maybe at 275, and that's where you can have a deal there. This is one way, where you understand what that person values. Okay, now if you are really the shopkeeper and trying to sell something, because in B2B marketing or in business in general, if you understand the other person, what that person values, then you'll be able to kind of provide a solution which matches the values of that person. And if it really 100% matches the values of that person, then you have an upper hand when it comes to negotiations. So then you can say that, okay, you want this in your business, you want that in your business, you want to achieve this, you want this outcome, you want to achieve that goal. Okay, we'll provide you with all this, but at this price. Okay, it's the groundwork in negotiations is important, and again it relates back to understanding the other person, what that other person values, and then attaching your solution to those values, and hence you are in a better position to negotiate. This is used a lot by lawyers as well, before actually they go in court, or they have out of court settlement. Generally they'll have this kind of approach. Okay, so this is an example of using emotional intelligence in negotiations.
What about conflict? Anything that is specific to conflicts in B2B services and B2B product? So B2B product is usually tangible, so you can have a better view of it. But B2B services is more difficult. So if you can add up to an example in that.
Sometimes, yeah, you've rightly put it that products are tangible, services are not, which means there is a little bit of a trust deficit, isn't it? And they are what they are saying is they'll provide such and such service, which is equivalent to going to the moon and coming back. Okay. So now they need evidence for it. Okay. Now you will provide that evidence, and that's kind of a no-brainer how you provide that evidence, because that evidence is there on your website. The past clients that you've had, maybe some testimonials and stuff like that. Maybe you can give some references. Maybe you can give 100% matching references where somebody had a similar issue. You provided them with a solution which was probably very expensive as per the perception of this current client. But then you say that they had the same problem. They bought this service from us. This is what we did. And now they are at a much better place. Maybe you can just show them the share price value after implementing something. I mean, that's the kind of evidence that they are looking at.
Correct.
So I think where services are involved, we need to make things tangible for them. And maybe for that, if you need to use the crutch of some other client, well, I think we should. Because that's the best way. You see, people get persuaded even more, okay, when they hear the same thing from a third person. Okay, and then they see the same results from a third client. Okay, so I think that's probably what needs to be done.
Awesome. So that's yet another amazing and insightful session with you, Amarendra. I obviously love discussing a lot. There's always a lot to learn, a lot to imbibe, and there are a lot of examples as well that you give. So incorporating emotional intelligence into B2B marketing, B2B sales strategies definitely requires fostering deep relationships, understanding ourselves more, and stepping into others' shoes, and then creating more impactful communication ultimately. So then you can have a higher conversion rate, you can have higher customer satisfaction, and overall a long-term client loyalty in B2B marketplace in general. That is what we are aiming for. Thank you once again, Amarendra. Guys, don't forget to check out Amarendra's Academy, Amarendra's Agile Neuro website, aanlp.org, for more insights into the brain of this wonderful fellow. There's also a free assessment, which Amarendra mentioned. Don't forget to sign up for that. You'll be amazed at what things we carry in our mind. And when you get an insightful assessment done with Amarendra, he'll shed more light into it. I will also share these links in my LinkedIn post. So thank you once again for tuning in. I would love to know how you felt about this episode. Do share, rate, subscribe, and review this channel. Follow me on LinkedIn for more updates. Remember, marketing is not a cost center, it's an investment center. Let's treat it like one. This is Tanay Sarpotdar on Mindful Minutes. Thank you for joining us. Namaskar. Take care.